Right, the Padres, they win a wild one, 9-8 over the Pirates. Hey, all that matters is that they won this game. It was not a pretty game. Jackson Merrill in his post game there with Don and Mud on the Padres broadcast, he was mentioning how great of a baseball game it was, and I don't know how great of a game it was. It was an interesting game, but was it a great game? The Pirates with their mistakes and how many hit batters that both teams had in this game, that wasn't that great. There were great moments, but Robert Suarez and then Tanner Scott having another guy have to come in after them, that wasn't great pitching, great baseball there. So yeah, I mean, I don't know about great game, but it was definitely interesting. It was entertaining. It was interesting. It had you glued to your screen. Now, I was not able to watch the entire game. I was able to catch the last part of the game, which was obviously very nerve wracking. But just to real quick go through everything here, the RBI single by Rowdy Tellez, I saw the highlights here of the scoring plays, and Rowdy Tellez with the single, I mean, that pitch is outside the strike zone. Just, you know, puts it in play, and it ends up being a hit. So that was weird right there. Michael King, not his best stuff today, not his dominant self like he has been at points this year. But again, like what I care about the most is, did he come out of it healthy? Did the Padres win the game? Check those two boxes, and we're good. I'm not going to be long term concerned about Michael King based off one outing against the Pirates. Jackson Merrill, what a freaking game he had. Huh? Donovan Solano had the game yesterday. Today, the day was for Jackson Merrill. It was his day. 4 for 6, 3 runs driven in, 3 runs scored. He had the RBI, or excuse me, he had 2 homers in this game. Top of the second, had the homer, made it 2-1. Brian Reynolds single, made it 3-1 Pittsburgh. Higgy, though, with a big homer, made it 4-3. I don't know if that's just I don't think he's trying to bat flip, but it looks like a bat flip after he swings and he just put the bat down and runs. But it looks like a bat flip sometimes. Um, just another one of those under the radar additions in the offseason, was kind of looked at as I mean, throw in, I guess, to the big Michael King return, right? Because King was the headliner, him and Thorpe. It wasn't Kyle Higashioka, but Higgy's become the starting catcher really right along Luis Campusano. They're sharing the playing time right now. So where would they be without Higgy? That's a good question. Bottom 4, Kutch had a homer, tied it up. Merrill, he was hitting rockets all over the place tonight with his homers, and then the RBI single, that was hit hard, made it 5-4. And by the way, Manny, extras, doing his job, not trying to do too much, hits a liner to center field, gets a run in, and then there, with the great base running, the hustle. Yeah, I get on him sometimes when I think he should be hustling in certain situations. But when he hustles and he deserves the praise, I'm going to be the first one to praise him, and he deserves it tonight. That made it 5-4, the Merrill RBI single, but then bottom 6, McCutcheon single, made it 6-5. That pitch was right down the middle. Then the 9th comes around, and I was listening to this on the radio in the car, but yeah, you can tell when Jesse is he knows when a homer is coming. He can't say it yet because he wants to make sure it's down, but I could tell his voice raising and getting excited, and I'm like, sitting there in traffic. Holy cow, Jackson Merrill just tied this freaking game up because it wasn't looking good there. Obviously, the Padres were down going into that top of the 9th, and I was not watching these at bats, but it seemed like very entertaining stuff. Aroldis Chapman throwing 105, touching 105, I think, and Manny up there. I guess Jesse said at least it was a borderline strike 3 call there. But I mean, that's like a main event type thing. But yeah, Jackson Merrill, huge. By the way, I think that was the 8th inning when Manny was up at the plate there. But Merrill comes through with that homer. Obviously, he's pumped up. And again, it helps build his Rookie of the Year case, in my opinion. I get it that Paul Skeens, he's the guy. He throws gas. He's been dominant this year. I understand it. But in terms of being super valuable to your team, a team that's hopefully going to be in a postseason spot, where would the Padres be without Jackson Merrill? You could say that same thing about Paul Skeens, but he pitches once every 5 days, and Jackson Merrill, even if that, Jackson Merrill is playing every day. He's coming up in clutch moments against the Dodgers with the single through the left side early in the season, the walk-off homer against Mason frickin' Miller, the homer here to tie it up, the homers at Fenway, the hits in Baltimore. I could go on and on about what he has done. The homer that he had, I think it was the last homestand, right? He's he's come up so big in moments. These big moments are not something that he backs away from. It's fun. It is fun to him, and it's awesome. It is freaking awesome to see a Padres rookie just be fearless like this and just be the ultimate competitor like this. That tied it up 6-6. And then I did want to shout out the relievers here because, yes, Estrada wasn't his best night, but Matsui, no earned runs. Alec Jacob comes in, strikes out 3 guys. I mean, talk about a difference between Jacob's velocity and Robert Suarez's velocity. Suarez goes 2/3 of an inning, walks a guy. Tanner Scott has to come in. He can't find the strike zone. But Adrian Morejon ends up getting the job done. So real props, especially to Adrian Morejon there, deserving of the save for sure, because those guys in front couldn't totally get the job done. But that's, again, I've mentioned this multiple times about the luxury that Mike Shildt and Ruben Niebla have now with this bullpen. There's so many teams that would be done after Robert Suarez messes up and can't get through the inning, can't get through his outing. But they have Tanner Scott to go to. There's some teams that don't even have Tanner Scott to go to. And then when Tanner Scott walks the ball yard, then you have Adrian Morejon to go to. Teams usually don't have that. And this was not all of their high leverage relief. Jason Adam didn't pitch tonight. It's impressive, the bullpen that AJ Preller and his staff has built and the options that Mike Shildt has. And it's these games where, there was the game yesterday where Seats gets pulled after 1 inning, and it's like, well, who has the advantage? The Pirates bullpen or the Padres bullpen? Duh, the Padres. Who has the advantage as we go into extra innings? When Chapman and Bednar had already been used by the Pirates, who has the advantage? Well, the Padres do, because they still have guys to go to, even after Suarez and Scott in this situation. So I did want to shout out them. Top 10. Bogarts with an RBI single. Manny, sac fly again, doing his job, hits it hard. By the way, his 0 for last night, he was hitting some balls hard too, so he's back. Jackson Merrill with the fly out to left. That one, I think that should have been a sac fly. I think Jackson Merrill got screwed there. I think that should have been a sac fly. I don't think that's an error on Yasmani Grandal. The throw took him there, and Bogarts was running right into it. So, what was he supposed to do? But that's what it was ruled, at least in the moment, and I believe it still is being ruled an error there. Either way, still, I don't care. Made it 9-6, and they needed that because in the bottom of the 10th, Tanner Scott's on the mound and walks Brian Reynolds. That was not his only walk of the inning. He walked the guy before that. So, yeah, crazy. And then Adrian Morejon has to come in, and, his first pitch, I think? Maybe it wasn't his first pitch, but a wild pitch. Michael A. Taylor ends up scoring, and now runners on second and third, the game-winning run is now all of a sudden on second base. And Morejon, though, ends up getting a punch out, ends up getting that final out. So huge. But again, it's about eventually, when you have a luxury that Mike Shildt has, eventually someone's going to come in and they're going to be able to get through their outing, get through an appearance. Hopefully, right? You think. Suarez, no. Morejon, no. Suarez, Scott, no. But then Morejon was able to do it, thankfully, and the Padres win this game. But wild. And Jurickson Profar had to leave this game, so we'll see if there's an update there. He was limping. I saw some updates on social media during the game, so that's not great. Ha-Seong Kim, by the way, had to come into the game because of Profar being out, and Kim was supposed to be resting because of the triceps issue, the soreness, but he ends up playing short. And Cronenworth got used, I believe, briefly in this game, so they were kind of short on the bench. I mean, runners in scoring position, this was not a night to put in Cooperstown or anything like that. 5 for 19 for the Pirates, 13 left on base for them. And then the Padres went 3 for 14. They left 14 guys on base. But all that matters is the Padres won this game. They're now 11 games over 500, 63 and 52. The D-backs are right there. It's going to be interesting. I was listening to Annie and Elston earlier in the day as I was driving, and they were talking about how maybe this will come down to the last week of the season. Padres, D-backs, Dodgers. Padres play the D-backs and Dodgers, I believe, the last 2 series of the regular season. So this could be really interesting down to the wire. The D-backs, they're getting starters back. I think they just got Eduardo Rodriguez back. And then the Padres, obviously, we're going to get Joe Musgrove back later this week, hopefully, or maybe it's going to be at the start of the series after Miami um, on Monday, I believe, because Cease could start Sunday, and they could go with Vasquez tomorrow, Perez Friday, and then what would it be? Waldron, I think Saturday. They could do that and have Musgrove not pitch the Miami series. Wouldn't be the end of the world. Cease threw 1 inning yesterday. But Dodgers probably will be getting guys back. Padres getting guys back. D-backs getting guys back. So this could shape up to be a really interesting division race or wild card race or both. If the division gets, wrapped up at the very end, with a couple games left or something, few games left, and then there's the wild card to fight for with some other teams in the NL. But yeah, roller coaster of a game for sure. I wonder how long the condensed game highlights are going to be for this game. Probably going to be a long one. But hey, Padres won, all that matters.